Welcome to The Most Important Thing. I'm Danielle DeMarco Neufeld.
And I'm Greg Neufeld, and together we're exploring how ambitious, busy families can build culture at home.
Because after all, family is the most important thing. Hi, Greg.
Hey, hey,
So, we did something crazy this weekend.
we sure did.
We switched our family room and our dining room
That's right.
to allow for more flow between the rooms.
That's right. And I've got the battle scars to prove it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the chandelier and Greg had quite a collision on his bald head.
That's right. It left a nice mark that I will forever remember as episode 6.
Yeah,
Wow.
episode 6.
All right.
So, today we're talking about family space. So, a 2018 study published in the Journal of Environmental Psychology found that families' perceptions of spaciousness or crowding in their home had a stronger impact on family functioning than the home's actual physical characteristics, like square footage or layouts. Specifically, feeling crowded, even in a large space, was linked to more conflict and reduced emotional closeness, while feelings of spaciousness, even in a smaller home, was linked to better communication, cooperation, and warmth. These effects held true even after controlling for income, family size, and housing type.
So it's the feeling.
Yeah, and that through intentional design, families can experience more peace and connection, even in modest or shared spaces.
Yeah.
You don't have to change the square footage to shape perception.
Cool.
Where I'm coming out is that the most important thing about family space is to consider rhythms and relationships. And so, in thinking about these two R's, I asked myself two questions. What are the core rhythms our family needs space for? And what are the relationships or connection types that are important to our family? And so, honestly, I made a list of a bunch of things and a bunch of different types of connections. But to keep it simple after talking with you, we came up with 3 in each: create, rest, and play, as far as the rhythms, and individual, pair or small group, and whole family for the types of connections. And so the result is a 3x3 matrix that I'm happy to share in the show notes. And I'd like to think through them today with you so that we can figure out what we're doing well and where we may have some gaps, and we can focus our experiments on that. How does that sound?
That sounds great. I think this is a good matrix for us to both focus on what we're doing well, as you say, and where we can improve. So the TED Talk version of this is everyone should be thinking about their own space and about the space that they occupy with others from the family and how to design for those in isolation. So you make sure that you have your own space. You make sure that you and I have a space, and you make sure that when you're spending time, let's say with Jade on her reading, that you guys have a nice space that is good for that activity. Is that kind of what you're saying here?
Absolutely. That's the idea. So, if it works for you, let's take a look through the matrix because I think there are quite a few things that we're doing well. But there are also some spots where I think we've had blind spots and where I think couple of small changes can make a really big difference. And as I mentioned, I'll post a link to the matrix in the show notes, but I do think this will look different for every family, though I'm hoping that it can be a launch pad for conversations. So,
Yeah.
starting with the things that we do well, play. I think that we have really great spaces for whole family, small group, and individual play.
Right.
Outside, inside. Now, as we discussed last episode, there's more work to do to get you more involved in the play.
So dads out there, especially flooring, I have found unlocks play. In our playroom, the kids have very soft padded flooring, which means that they can do lots of gymnastics on the aerial swing and fall off and not really hurt themselves too badly, or roughhouse. And that's really great. And in our garage, we put down gym matting, like 1-inch rubber, industrial grade mats for working out. But it also turned the space into a play space for the kids to do workouts with us and to play around. So it's actually turned into another room for us. And then out front, we changed the surface from, we live in Florida where the grass is not very nice. It's kind of thick and muddy. And we replaced it with turf. And now we're out there all the time. So space, I think, especially when it comes to play, you can change the flooring and you change your world.
Absolutely. Rest is also a place where I think we're doing pretty well. We have quite a few opportunities, both upstairs and downstairs, for soft, cozy spaces. That said, one thing that came up this weekend during our family meeting, we realized that we hadn't necessarily delineated appropriate quiet corners. We hadn't found a space downstairs for the quiet corner, really. We know that you can always go upstairs into your bedroom and into your bed specifically to calm down. But where else could we make space for rest, both when you just need a break and also when you need to cool off? And so we identified 3 spaces downstairs, which I think is key because there are 3 people that often get activated. That's the children, in case you were wondering. So we identified 3 quiet corners or 3 places to calm down in soft space alone. And then finally, let's talk about create.
Great.
So, create. What does that really mean? Work, focus, wonder. Areas where individuals and groups can open their minds. So, I think that we've done a great job in creating shared spaces to create, particularly around art projects, but individual places for creation, as far as having your own space to both work and display those creations, feels like something that has been lacking.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so one of the things the kids and I did this weekend was we created space in the playroom for each of them to display their work. And this is not, hey, mom, display my artwork for a week and then go shove it in a drawer somewhere or hopefully sneak it away into the trash. There is a dedicated space for each person, which they personalized. Maverick put up a picture of himself hugging a Lego guy. Jade put one of her creations from school, and Hunter wrote, "Keep out, don't touch," all over the place on hers. And immediately their personalities came out. Maverick's is a complete mess. Jade's involves mostly soft things in a ball, and Hunter's is a magical display filled with a ton of gemstones.
Yep. They really see themselves.
And the first thing they did this morning when our nanny came in was ask her to come see their spaces.
Yeah, they were very proud of it.
Yeah,
So thank you for giving them that space.
absolutely.
So it's create, rest, and play. And you're saying that create has been lacking, especially at the individual level for our kids. Is that also true for us?
That's a really great point, actually. I think it's probably also true that we've neglected our office a bit. You and I love working together, so it doesn't necessarily matter too much what the space looks like. But I think that if we put some time and effort into our individual spaces and our shared space for work, that we will also see the benefits. So maybe we can add that to our experiment as well.
Great.
So to recap, that the most important thing about space is that how your home feels to your family matters more than what it looks like or how big it is. If you can think through the rhythms and relationships in your home, you can make intentional areas to fit your family's needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't mean a full renovation. It can be as simple as shifting a chair or repurposing a corner or just rethinking how you use a room. What really matters is that the space works for your family's actual life, not just the ideal version. For us, it's been about asking, is this space helping or hindering the life that we want to live?
Yeah, I think that thinking through what the core rhythms that your family needs space for and what types of relationships exist in your home is a personal experiment. And for us, we've set it down as play, rest, and create, individual, pairs, and small groups, and whole family. And just to make sure that we've thought about, that we know where our strengths lie and where we can experiment.
Yes.
And to me, I think that actually having a kitchen table is a really big deal. It's the first time that we've had a kitchen table here since we moved into the home.
Yeah.
So that's part of the experiment, is seeing how that works out. And then setting aside the individual spaces for our children and for ourselves for create, both create in the sense of where you can keep your works in progress so that they don't get ruined by other siblings or thrown away by a mom that hates clutter, and where you can display your work.
That's right.
So, what other experiments are we willing to run when it comes to being intentional around our family space?
Yeah, I think it's about noticing friction
Mm.
because we do a really good job of putting together lists of someday projects and executing on them in the order that they need to happen. But that's usually based around clutter. It hasn't been until recently about how to free up space for this growing family. And I think that just noticing friction about spaces and how it can free up places to create, rest, or play is the right way to think about it going forward.
Mm. Great. And personally, I put the cart before the horse a bit here on this one and already started the experiments before we talked about it because I just couldn't wait this past weekend. But for me, it comes back to one of these overarching goals that we have, or at least that I have for our family right now, which is moving from this top down structure to one where everyone has a voice. And so giving our children their own spaces to create and to display their creations is a game changer downstairs. It's something new that I think is really worth experimenting with. And I look forward to reporting back on how that goes.
Me too. And I'm going to find a place to tack up all the emails that I'm proud of on the wall. Look at this one. Did you see this email? Look how good I wrote it.
Sweet.
All right.
All right. Love you, Goosey.
Love you, Goosey. And now it's time for our experiment update, where we recap what we've tried at home, how it worked or didn't, and what we're tweaking next.
All right. Hi, Goosey.
Hi, Goosey.
It's a new week, and we've tried some things.
We sure have.
How did you think our second family meeting went?
I thought it went really well. How did you think it went?
Greatly improved.
Yeah.
My biggest takeaway was it feels so nice when we are all sitting down.
It does.
I do still love the Saturday voting.
Yes.
And that the kids are coming up with lots of ideas.
I love that.
About things they want to learn about. This week they came up with fairies, unicorns, electricity, how magic works, and dragons was what ultimately won.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my best to find an Origins of Dragons
Which was
video,
great.
which is how I thought we could learn about dragons.
It was a great video.
But they thought it was boring.
I'm not sure that YouTube breaks are a good way to teach. Maybe we'd just do a GPT bullet points or something like that.
I don't know. More to be revealed. On the flip side, I thought that the problem to solve went super well. Hunter came up with the idea, building upon my idea of hitting and biting. She said, why don't we do all of it? Hitting, biting, name calling, just doing mean things.
Yeah.
And that's the one that got chosen. And so we were able to really hear everyone's voice around how it feels to be hurt, and talking about and reflecting upon when we say mean things, how it makes the other person feel was really great. Then also coming up with an agreement around what are our options instead of hurting another person with our words or with our hands. And you had the great innovation within our agreement of a slogan tied to our family value of the month being noble.
Safe hands.
Strong hearts. And we made that into a little call and response, right?
Yeah. The innovation there was just me typing into ChatGPT talking about this is the topic that's going on. I got a list of 8 ideas, and I thought the 2 of them were really good. One was this slogan, and I thought that would work for our family because we're pretty big on things like that. And then the other was this idea of a do-over, where if you are an offender, if you're hitting or biting or being mean, you can pause, take a do-over, and then that will allow you to communicate better. Otherwise, you need to take some space and some time for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then I had come prepared with my ideas from traditional parenting books, I would say,
Yes.
as far as tell me with your words how you feel, show
Yeah.
me with a doll, draw me a picture, etc. But so I guess the long and the short of it is that we came up with a series of traditional and untraditional methods
No,
to
you were
solve the
great.
problem.
I think that my takeaway here is you're always great in being prepared. And when it comes to things that aren't necessarily landing for our kids, I think my job is, because I'm never going to show up as prepared, but is to try to be creative in the moment to figure out how we can leave with a solution.
Totally. I just love coming into the week with something proactive that we can do to help our family.
Yeah. And thanks again for recapping it all this morning. I think that's really important
Yeah.
too. It's the Monday morning.
Well, I wrote it down again, right? I wrote it down, the learnings from this week's family meeting, along with the ideas for next week's family meeting. I didn't write anything about dragons because that really didn't flow.
Yeah.
So, okay, to recap, second meeting was much better than the first.
Yes.
Sitting down, facing each other, big improvement. Afternoons,
Afternoon.
huge improvement. Didn't feel rushed.
It was
Everybody was looking forward
great.
to it. I don't know if we mentioned last time, but Hunter has been leading us in a mindful minute. I think that's an important practice. I feel like we are improving in our compliments and appreciation. We did get full participation this time.
Yes.
The learnings still not so great. That's really the weakest part of the meeting. But the problem solving felt strong to very strong. And the fact that we were able to make an agreement. This was on the topic of hitting, biting, and saying mean things, and not just make that agreement, but reiterate it this morning, really felt like building family culture.
It did. It really did.
Okay. So progress, significant progress. We'll keep it going.
Yeah.
Next Sunday afternoon?
Next Sunday afternoon. I'm wondering if we vote on the learning and then one of us has to own that learning and teach it to the rest of the group.
Oh, interesting.
Meaning like Hunter could go to school and say, hey, I need to learn about dragons.
Or could it be more hands-on? Like, I want to learn how to build a paper airplane.
Sure.
I will suggest next week something hands-on.
Sounds good.
Okay. Family stories. We have some updates here as well.
We do. We do. Where do you want to start?
Well, you came up with a birthday trivia game for me, which I thought was great and something we wouldn't have done prior to this experiment.
That was fun. So on the topic of family stories, it happened to be Danielle's birthday, and I came up with a little game that was Danielle trivia. The idea being that we could ask some questions to everybody in the room, and whoever got it closest was right. And Danielle was obviously there to be the judge. So it was a fun little game. We can play it for anyone's birthday or any celebration. Anyone can make this up as they go. And I thought that it was a great way to share some family stories in the process.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice way for me to reflect and for you all to get to know me a little better.
Yeah.
Like, what did I want to be when I was 7 years old?
A veterinarian.
Mm-hmm. Or what's my favorite trait of a friend?
Communicative.
That's right. Yeah. So it felt like a nice way to honor me in a playful manner.
Sure did. And
Yeah.
then we watched some home videos.
Yeah. So then for Mother's Day, we watched some home videos and I even got out my elementary school yearbooks. Two things we have never done before.
Never.
And I don't think we would have ever thought to do had we not done an episode on family stories.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. And I'm also inspired to do some more creative activities around the family story and things that involve photos, and we'll get to that.
Yeah. The videos really built upon some of the stories that I had already talked to them about. So we had talked about some of my birthdays growing up and then to watch them in action.
So cool.
One memory is a really funny thing because there were definitely parts that I misremembered, which Hunter was big to call me out on and Jade was just confused. But they all loved watching little me and telling me how cute I was. It was weird, but in a great way. It really spoke to this intergenerational self for them to see me as a little kid especially with my mother and father, who are their grandparents. And then I asked them, well, how do you think it's going to feel when you grow up, if you have kids, to watch you on the videos that we take of you? And you could see their little brains working, figuring that out.
Yeah.
It was very cute. And this morning they asked me when we could watch more. So I think it was a success.
It was a success. And $13 on Amazon, you can buy a DVD player. So they still exist.
Yeah, one of my relatives had kindly put all of our home videos onto DVDs. So we used that.
Yep.
And then we also have an update on family values. So I think on the episode itself, we said we were going to pick 2, but we ultimately ended up just choosing 1 for the month.
1 a month.
Feels good. And so we're starting with Noble, which is the N in Neufeld. And we've done a couple things so far. We started that Kacha jar. And as Greg had guessed, we immediately had about 6 or 7 pieces of paper in there.
Yeah.
All the things. And some of them were confused. Jade was confused and thought if she did a bunch of noble acts in a row, we would watch a movie immediately.
It was a quid pro quo mentality that was going on. She was like, but I did all those things for you. Can we watch a movie now?
Yeah.
Why did I do all those things?
We said we didn't want to put a number on it, but we said after we have critical mass in the Kacha jar, we can watch a movie.
Yeah. We need like a Kacha text.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Kacha jar it's catching on, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've been playing around with ChatGPT before bedtime to try to come up with some short stories based on either noble fables or tonight I'm going to try historical figures.
Cool.
Yeah. See if we can learn a little bit about history in the same way.
Love it. It's so cute. Just the idea that you're showing up with like bookending the day, you know?
It takes about 90 seconds.
It really does.
So they're not perfect stories by any means, but it's a quick story. We read books at night anyway. So why not start with a little story about something that's super relevant to us?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it, Greg.
I think that's it.
I think those are enough experiments for now. We'll have an update on family meals next week and family play as well.
That's right. Family play as well.
Okay, so stay tuned. Hope
Stay
everybody
tuned.
has a great week.
All right. See ya.